Yeah, for sure. So, obviously signing date is, coming past. And, we love, KJ Lewis signed early with us, and he's somebody that, from kind of the first moments we got involved with him, I was really impressed. And he just, not only is he a really talented player who's really, really trended up, the last 6 months, he's an amazing person and incredibly high character. I think you guys are going to be blown away when you guys get a deal with him. And, he might even be, believe it or not, too nice. So we'll see if we can roughen him up a little bit. But all in all, we're excited to get him. And, recruiting these days, I always tell you guys it's tough. I feel great where we're at because, I sleep good at night knowing that, in my thoughts, Kylan Boswell is still a class of 2023, but we have him here right now. So it's not like, we don't have him. So, basically you have two, All-American level guards. And I think that's a great place to start. And, we'll continue to see where we'll have some flexibility moving forward, which is a great position to be in this day and age in college basketball.
Immediately about KJ. Besides that.
Well, I think the comp, not I'm a huge comp guy, but it's Marcus Smart. Yeah, he's a Marcus Smart guy. He's a great two-way player who really, really impacts the game at both ends, and it's not lip service. And then, when I went and watched him, in El Paso last year, he might not have had the greatest game, or even the greatest team, but he played so well with his teammates, and his body language towards his teammates was so good, and he didn't play selfish, which a lot of kids like him would have played selfish, and I just think he has all the makings for what I'm looking for in a player, and I think he's going to be a great asset.
So when you say you first got involved, was that right after you came here, or were you talking to him at all?
I'll have to look at the exact date, Bruce, but I don't know. It was last. I don't know. I got involved with him, over a year ago, I think. So, kind of just in a normal. It wasn't like he wasn't a guy that I'd called the first week on the job because I was still getting my feet on the ground, and I had a lot of players we had to get for that team. But we picked it up on his recruitment once we kind of saw him. It probably would have been, I guess during the season of his junior year when we kind of really got involved with him.
Roots here in Vail or something. Did that play a role in it at all?
I think there's a great, photo out there, a hand drawing that if somebody really did some research, some reporter, I think that would be really cool to see. Like this kid dreamed of being in an Arizona Wildcat since he's 10 years old, and he got that documented and got evidence of it.
You mentioned Pella before the season and that you thought that he could be an all-conference guy and a defensive player of the year candidate. And so far, he's really shown a lot of people. Are you at all surprised by what you've seen?
I'm not surprised. No, but I'm also understand we're only 2 games into a long season, and we got to continue to get better, and he's got to continue to get better. But Pella's a heck of a player, and I love developing players from within the program, and and him going into his second year. I hope all our guys year to year trend up, and he's really doing that.
How do you react to those early season losses by Oregon and USC?
It's not just Oregon and USC. If you look across the board, I think there's been some, some surprising results. The first thing I would say is, in respect of all coaches, it's hard to win, and no matter what level you're at or what program you're coaching, you can never take that for granted. The second thing I would say is, I think it's going to be really interesting, to see how all these changes impact college basketball, and with the NIL being involved now, are some of these kids more focused on that, than really developing into good college players? Because the deal with the NIL is this: it doesn't make one player better, it doesn't make one coach better. You still got to go out and do the work, and how do the kids get a little bit of money now and think they've arrived, and do they lose some of their hunger, and do coaches think that throwing money at recruits through NIL will solve roster issues? I doubt that. And so for me, when you really take a step back, and then the transfer portal, do coaches now think that they're just going to solve all their problems by recruiting transfers? And it's the old adage, a lot of kids transfer for reasons. And so you got to still make sure you're getting the right transfers. So, I mean, listen, it's going to be interesting. Does the NIL and the transfer portal at the end of the day create more parity in college basketball when people probably expected that the rich would get richer and the poor would get poorer? I don't know. I'm definitely taking a wait and see on that. So, I mean, you got a long-winded answer there. Hopefully you got a few tidbits you can pull out of that. But yeah, I'm really interested to see. I mean, I think there's a lot of coaches at a lot of levels doing a good job. And I think it's going to be dangerous for coaches at these higher levels. I think that they're just going to – the NIL and transfers are going to solve all their problems.
Tanner Christensen scored 26 points against Washington. How do you assess his game? And being from Spokane, did you watch any of his...
Spokane? I've never heard that. Where's that? Spokane?
Spokane.
Okay, Spokane. I kind of like that. I thought I'd throw a little accent on that one.
Did you watch any... Is that
SPOKN, with what would you call that, a quotation or something, or a hyphen, or Spokane? Yeah, I like that.
Any of his games at East Washington Elite?
I saw him play in high school. He played against my son. I mean, he's a good player. And, I didn't realize he had transferred to Utah Tech. And when I saw him play, I'm like, yeah, it's the same player that beat my son's high school team. I think he had a really good senior year there. And he's just a good basketball player. He's got good hands. He moves well. It looks like he's got a good IQ. So it's really cool to see a kid from Spokane doing well.
Oh, back to kind of what Greg was saying earlier, the SWAC series in particular, and the way it played out, they held court basically, and I mean, there's all this talk about how it's been good for the big picture wise, but maybe this kind of could hurt the league power rating wise. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think there's probably going to be two sides to this. There's the side that says, where coaches and programs will be upset because they're probably playing games they otherwise would have never played. For what? Let's say for all intents and purposes, the ideal of, the home and home with the SWAC schools is great. At some point, they deserve an opportunity too. So I'd put that out there as, so don't make sure you just take one quote out of this and misquote me. The other thing would be like, hey, you know what? If you're a school in our conference, we need to be winning those games. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I know it's easier said than done, but you need to go out and you got to win some hard games. And obviously, those schools probably feel like they weren't put in an advantageous situation, but at the end of the day, you still got to get the result.
I know it's early, and maybe the Pac-12, but I mean, when you see those kind of things, are you thinking, you got to carry the flag for the conference and do your own work as far as the power rating and go to Maui and do well, et cetera? I mean, does it put more pressure on you?
I'm always going to worry about doing my own work. I'm always going to worry about doing my own work. I'm never going to worry about other teams, trying to. If we get propped up because other teams in our conference are doing well, that's great. But I'm never going to sit here and use how other teams in our conference are performing as an excuse. And at the end of the day, we got to win our own games. And and so hey, we got to play at Southern next year. You know what? And we got to go down there and we got to do the best job we can to probably win a tough game. And so I'm not going to, I was fortunate to have a home game this year in that deal. But next year, the shoe's on the other foot. So we got to go respond to the bell, answer the bell.
Is there a difference in how you handle Courtney Ramey in practice now since he hasn't played the first 3 games and then you kind of jump into it?
McCourtney's a great kid. You see, so unselfish. He's actually, put himself kind of on our second team a little bit, and I've pulled him back and forth, between, because I still want him, thinking he's a member of our first group, and so, I plan on probably seeing him starting in Maui, would be what I probably would do right now if we were playing Maui tomorrow. And so, yeah, meaning the last 2 days, we really weren't preparing specifically for any opponent or a couple, I think we didn't do much yesterday, but the days before, and, he was in, getting all reps with the first group and that type of stuff. So I'm not treating him much different.
Yeah, being as you did kind of have a longer layoff since Southern, I mean, were there different things you're able to get into in practice?
For sure. I mean, you're getting games under your belt. You're getting live reps. So, obviously things are showing up that we need to work on. And, there's other things that, we need to add to the package to be prepared to play a hard 3-day tournament in Maui. So, you're just trying to get your team prepared for that type of stuff.
So you're basically, I was wondering how that works with Courtney, because you're not gonna have a whole lot of turnaround time to get him ready to be with the first team, so you're kind of working men already behind the scenes.
Courtney's had he has a lot of experience. So, I mean, listen, I'm not expecting him to hit the ground running and be perfect in his first run, this season, but I'm also banking on the fact that this is a kid that loves basketball and has played a lot of it and has a lot of experience, and I imagine he'll be ready to rise to the occasion.
Is your opponent tomorrow comparable to the first two at all?
No, I mean, listen, Utah Tech's a good team. I mean, their coach has won more games in the history of Utah college basketball than anybody. That says something. He knows what he's doing, and I've got to watch him play a little bit, this season, and they have a plan. They're well organized. I would say maybe they're a little more structured than the last two teams we played, but maybe not quite as frenzied and athletic. But so they're definitely going to present challenges. I mean, I watched parts of their Washington game, and they were actually in control of that game for long stretches, and then kind of in the second half it kind of got away from them. But we're expecting a battle, and it's great. You need to be battle tested. You want to play teams that have different styles and different plans, so it helps. I mean, all that ended up being is great experiences for us, and we'll use everyone as a learning tool.
Topic, Coach, but I was reading a couple articles. You were called the Tommy Gun growing up or playing basketball. Do you like that nickname?
Not particular. No, it's not my favorite.
Curious.
No, that was I mean, I think that came, wasn't it, like in reference to Rocky? Right. Wasn't that a Rocky character? Yeah. So they kind of mean you're called Tommy, and I don't think that was a big stretch to call that. And then so that was probably about the same time when I was playing basketball that those Rocky movies were out. So yeah. So no, I mean, yeah, I haven't been called that in a while. So.
Your shooting prowess too,
right?
Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's yeah. I think I've lost that, so I've forgotten about those days.
Cedric had 5 fouls in 21 minutes. Is there going to be a set guy to come in his relief come next game?
I mean, not necessarily a set guy, but obviously Adama, is somebody we can bring off the bench and sub, and then you can also play three smaller guards together and put Kylan in there. So, we just kind of navigate those, and we're still getting a feel for rotations and lineups and things of that nature. And Ced, I don't think his foul trouble caused him to sit out too many, because I think he got a couple of those fouls late.
Anything else?
Brian, you got nothing for me, huh? You just, you're asleep at the wheel. Yeah. All right, guys. You have a good one.